Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. This is episode 37, entitled I've Got the Power? How Web3 can help content creators regain ownership over their personal content and grasp the power back from big tech firms that seek to exploit them. This Crypto Hipster podcast is a compilation of 4 episodes from season 6 through 8. This episode is 2 podcast clips from season 7 and 2 from season 8. All of my podcasts are available in their entirety on Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, anywhere really you listen to your favorite podcasts, as well as these compilations are also available. Thank you for tuning in. And this episode focuses on content creation and how content creators can take back their ownership. This podcast has 4 conversations. The first person I spoke with was from season 7 in August 2024 with Kelsey Grooms, who is the co-founder of Soulbound. We spoke about building an avant-garde social gaming platform that empowers the new creator economy. Next, from season 8 from June 2025, on video, I spoke with Ryan Davis, who is the founder of People First. We spoke about helping Web3 micro-influencers and small creative agencies gain massive audiences. Season 7 is next. My conversation with Kelsey McGuire, who's the Chief Growth Officer at Shardeum. That occurred in May 2024. And we talked about realizing the benefits of treating your Web3 community as a CEO. So the focus was on community development and treating the community first. And last but not least was my season 8 conversation with Jaime Schwarz, the founder of Marked. We talked about designing a revolutionary platform to transform how intellectual property ownership is created, shared, and monetized on Web3. We talked in April 2025. These 4 compilations, these 4 clips make up this 37th compilation of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls, entitled again, I've Got the Power? How Web3 can help content creators regain ownership over their personal content and grasp the power back from big tech firms that seek to exploit them. Enjoy this conversation. Enjoy this compilation. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time. So what are the general challenges faced by creators? And then what are the specific challenges faced by gaming creators?
Sure. So diving into the specific challenges faced by gaming creators, which might overlap with some of the challenges faced by general creators, we're definitely have been laser focused right now on gaming creators. And then once we kind of solve a lot of these pain points, we'll start to expand to maybe more general creator solutions for maybe some of their other problems that they might not have as a creator, but not a gamer per se. But diving into like kind of the gamer creator problems currently, as they're streaming on different platforms like Twitch or Kick or YouTube, there has amassed a disconnect between how many followers they have and how many viewers they will attract on any given stream that they do. So you might have a streamer who has 100,000 followers or 1,000 followers, but when you start that stream and you're streaming for 8 to 10 hours a day, you may only end up with maybe 10 to 20 to, maybe maximum 10% of your follower base as a viewership within that time period of your streaming. So there's a big disconnect between you as a new streamer or even an older streamer or streamer who's been streaming for a while, how to get views viewers to view your content and kind of regularly engage with you. Secondly, you're going to need to figure out how to monetize yourself. So you're going to need to get your own uh, sponsorships, your own advertising and brand dollars to, sponsor your stream, work with various games in different ways. And this, you need a contract with a lot of them. And so you might need to be picked up by some kind of creator agency that might rep you, but you need to put in so many hours a day to get bigger. You need to increase your viewership base. And so it becomes kind of like a daunting problem. And what we're solving right now, most immediately for them, is bringing viewers to your stream. And so we'll do like Twitch raid quests. We'll do various ways where we help incentivize users to go and watch your stream and interact with your stream. These users are obviously earning, drip points, which will turn into an unlock at some point when we have a token launch. But they are starting to kind of build your viewership and base, and you have a lot more interaction. And so what we're also doing is helping you get paid to play games and stream them. So we have a no contract policy in Soulbound as a streamer anyways. We work with right now about 100 Web3 games. We just finished a campaign, for example, with Shrapnel Parallel and Nifty Island. What happens in these campaigns is these games put up a bounty or an allotment of, a pool of funds that we will then distribute to any user who streams a game and kind of meets the threshold for streaming as a streamer, right? So some of these, so yes, we'll pay you a fixed amount for streaming the game. These requirements do come from the game that we work with. And we're now setting up features where we're using different data points about your stream to pay variable rates. So we'll pay a fixed amount, and if you have a strong viewership, which will help you, which we help try to get for you. So we'll do these, raid quests at any given time of the day. So maybe we can help pump your stream with like 1 to 200 new viewers immediately. And based on your metrics for that stream, as you're streaming Shrapnel, for instance, or Nifty Island, you'll get a higher payout from the game for having these like better views. And so we are, looking at automating and kind of figuring out various ways to obviously boost your viewership as well as your earning income.
Doesn't necessarily have to impact the small creative agencies. So I want to find out what would be the secret or the art for running a successful small creative agencies, and how these agencies can best monetize their works if it's not inclusive of this negative sentiment.
Yeah, so I've worked at agencies for a long time. I worked at Blue State, a big agency that's part of the WPP family. I started an agency called Blue State Digital with my friend Chase, and it's a fantastic website and branding agency. I moved on from there to start People First, and we've grown from $0 in revenue. We did over 7 million last year. So it's been a real growth trajectory. And I think if you're looking to start your own agency, the first thing I would do is try to find a space that's a little bit open in a niche that's available. So, go specific. I think, what we looked at with People First was, we started really in the politics that gave us like a really specific, target customer that we were able to focus on. It was doable. It was a market we could address with just, my co-founder and I to kind of like begin to kind of build out that sales practice. And then we expanded from there. But, the agencies that I see, the smaller agencies that I see doing well are focused on like a certain type of niche, like a type of business or a certain like type of creative, like, TikTok series, or, we're experts at experiential audio stuff. So it's like, that's why we decided we're going to be the micro influencer folks. We're going to be the best at micro influencer. There's a lot of influencer agencies, but we're the best at getting you the precision, the folks that you're looking for your campaigns.
All right, that's a good term that I'm not too familiar. I mean, I've heard it, right? Micro influencing. What is it all about? What's the key to it?
Yeah, so I like to think of influence as sort of a pyramid. So at the top, you've got, the Joe Rogans and the Beyoncés, the folks who have massive followings. And then below that, you've got sort of the thought leadership folks like the Ben Shapiro on the right, or the podcaster with a few million followers. These folks are definitely big, but they're not, celebrities. And then you've got sort of the mid-tier creators, and these can be people with a couple 100,000 followers, and they might be, be experts at interior decorating, or they might be experts at car repair, right? They have like a specialty that people follow for that particular thing. And then you go down the list and you get to these micro creators, and they have between 2 and 20,000 followers, and they might be teachers, nurses, firefighters, your neighbor. These are just regular folks, and we find their content to be the most powerful when we get a single mom to talk about how a product has helped make her run her household more effectively and made her life easier, and she's authentically telling that story. That's a much more powerful ad than if Britney Spears is like, this product really worked for me. It's like, people look at Britney maybe aspirationally, but the people who are their peers, who look like they could be their brother or their sister, their community member, those are the people we really take advice from, and that's our whole model.
And how do you amplify their voices?
So we amplify their voices through paid media. So what'll happen is, I'm at Ryan New York on Instagram. I post. We then take that content and we boost it directly to other 40-year-old agency owners, so I can talk about whatever that product is. So we take that exact piece of content and we put it up against the exact audience that's going to resonate with it. So single moms are seeing other single moms, and we've done campaigns where we've shown content specifically to healthcare executives and about things they should be doing. So really getting specific about who's seeing the content.
I feel it's David versus Goliath, and Goliath is big tech firms who easily pay for news articles that will focus on the negativity. And that goes back into what you said about enterprises. It's a challenge for enterprises to make some of their business open source, right? So how can we help them get there?
Yeah, like you said, it is a challenge. And I do think it is kind of showing up with this David and Goliath scenario, like you said. I think we just need to show up and be that much better when it comes to how we present ourselves, how we educate, how we forge partnerships and talk about things. And I think a lot of it is going to be getting to even those Web2 conferences, just because a lot of the theme of our conversation today has been the value of having in-person conversations too, when it comes to building trust, getting there and not trying to dazzle anyone with your Web3 jargon, but really trying to connect with folks in Web2 as well and educate around some of the benefits of Web3 and why you're excited about it. And I think that would really help with some of these larger enterprise partnerships, because a lot of the folks that I've connected with over the years on the enterprise side in the past, there's a healthy level of skepticism, but they're also curious, but the whole space can feel wildly overwhelming if someone's not willing to kind of have a seat and talk through some of the interesting aspects framed for the specific person you're speaking to. Like, they need to understand the specific value for them rather than just what your project is doing in terms of like a list of features and facts, if that makes sense. I think reframing the conversation can be really important there.
I want to dive down that path because I've been saying it the whole time I've been in crypto is I see a lot of developers and companies building something, then saying, hey, this is what we built for you, instead of asking the people who are this is, hey, what do you need? And then building what they need, right? So how do we change the mindset within the crypto developers to go ahead in the Web 2 and then find out what Web 2 people need and then build that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because just kind of throwing things out there without listening. They might be really cool things, but you have to have that kind of insight and buy-in. And in addition to having those kind of conversations and having the data, I think you also need to be really connecting with those developers, because I think there's going to be a subset that just will always want to build cool things for the sake of cool things. That's great. Those aren't necessarily going to be the folks that are also the same group that are going to be building the things that are implemented by the enterprises. There's some overlap, but not always. I think it's kind of finding the group of developers that's willing to build something that's tailored to a need that has been identified and needs to be met. And like I said, those aren't necessarily two exclusive groups. There's overlap, but I think it's just important to understand too that there are going to be subsets that are always just like, no, I just want to build this random thing, and they can probably find a job doing that. And that's great too, but it's not necessarily the group that's going to be tailoring everything to solve these enterprise level problems.
That, when I think of that group of people, you just mentioned that, I think number one, NFTs, they were successful.
Mm-hmm.
And meme coins.
Yeah.
Which in some ways are very successful. So how do we develop that culture so that everyone can embrace that meme culture, that NFT culture, that, like, how do we get there?
Yeah, I just don't know that everyone, or even a majority of people, will as they're presented right now. And by that, I mean, when I think about NFTs and when I think a lot of people think about them now, it's the little pictures, and it's the building not too far from where I'm based in Williamsburg that's just painted. We have the pudgy penguins, which are admittedly very adorable. We've got some Bored Apes up there, all of these. So I think that's people's perception of NFTs. I think for broader acceptance and engagement with NFTs, we'll probably end up not calling them NFTs, but they'll be using the same underlying technology, and it will be what's powering like a rewards program, or what's powering, you being able to hold on to different items you collect in a video game, or, so it's functionally going to be the same thing in what it does and how it works, but it's not going to be packaged in the same way.
Right. So now we have marked, but we have the blockchain. We are able to protect creators, protect their rights, and distribute value fairly. How do we best do that? So you'll use your platform, use the blockchain, but how can we do that and ensure that we don't get our IP stolen by anybody and everybody?
Yeah. Well, hey, that's the thing about media. Anybody can bootleg it anytime they want. So we have to live within that reality and then say, well, how do we get trust in the system? So we have a wonderful internet that connects us all, but when we're using it with just a blockchain, or I should say the first version of blockchain, where there's an idea that you own that idea of ownership is because we've all collectively gotten together on this chain to say, yes, there is no one person that can say you own this. That's the idea of a decentralized system, a proof of work or a proof of stake or proof of time or whatever blockchain. There is no one centralized figure that makes that ledger real. It's the participation of everybody that says, yes, we're all backing each other in this space. We're creating our own object permanence. So there's a reason $2 trillion went into the NFT economy and then right out of it in 18 months. The reason it went in is because digital ownership was now possible. We had just lived through 20 years of use of digital media without ownership. That's a lot of built up need for ownership and a new way to do it. And you get those initial promises of things like royalties. My art gets resold, I get a royalty. Smart contracts. Oh my God, the object is actually able to say, I'm created by this creator. I'm going to do everything that it tells me to do, no matter how many owners have me. No matter what, I'm always going to give a 5% kickback to the artist or whatever. That's huge. There's a reason why that all came in, but there's still rug pulls. There's still extremely complex wallets, and the chains are all just letters and numbers. And what is this? And you need a wallet. You need a blockchain scan. You need a marketplace in order to sell. You can't sell a blockchain object. You have to go to OpenSea or Rarible or whatever to use that. So there was an awful lot of infrastructure problems that existed with an awful lot of promise of what could have happened with NFTs. So we've been focused on building to that point. Marked is not the only solution, but it is certainly the most holistic one we've ever come across, because that's all we're concentrating on, is making sure it is as easy as just buying a videotape or, buying a record. Wait a second, this is not a vinyl album. It's a freaking coaster, but I've got an NFC chip in it and I've got my mark on it. So if I tap my phone to it, I'm going to get this will be fun to do live. There. We'll get a little thing up there that says, right now this just goes to Mark DJ, just the website. But this could go to your album. And if it goes to your album, then it's going to, where you sign in to say, is this mine or not? So we created simple sign-in. So just your wallet is now your name. So jamilhassan.dj. If I just have my song, I went to this concert, I got this music, you tap your phone to it, and then you just sign in, jamilhassan.dj, and it will show you, hey, do you want to buy this from jamieschwarz.dj? Sure. And it will either sell you the actual thing that I'm selling you as a real thing, or did you want to buy a derivative from me? And I'll make a copy, because the smart contract allows me to make a copy, and I'll get an affiliate fee for it. Every single consumer becomes a salesperson, an affiliate salesperson. We become user distribution. And that means that we can put all the rights in here. So there's only 1,000 of these, and I can make only 1,000 copies from there of second editions, like the other 1,000 people, or whatever the rules are. But because it's all digital now, we're taking advantage of all the cut and paste and wonderful things you can do in the digital world, with the object permanence that they need to defend that authenticity and defend the rights and all the other things that go with it. Make sense?